Hello and welcome to Plate Stack Chat. We are back for 2025 after a few weeks off. Well, at least from the podcast. Personally, I was very busy traveling to some pretty interesting events. And speaking of interesting events, I know a lot of people are looking forward to Wodapalooza that is fast approaching. And while, yes, we will be seeing some of our favorite individual athletes, not just taking on the event solo, but also forming some pretty interesting looking teams as well. But not to be overlooked is what will be happening for the adaptive division, and that is what we will be talking about today. So let's bring out two of the men that are busy organizing things behind the scenes. First up, we have a two-time CrossFit Game athlete who's also a British weightlifting and CrossFit coach. You can find him competing all over the world or casually dragging himself up a mountain. Please welcome Tom Green.
How are we doing? You good?
I'm good, Tom. Is dragging up the mountain a sufficient way to describe it?
Yeah, I suppose it is, mate. It's definitely at times.
Yeah. I was going to say something about how, this guy can climb mountains better than me, even though I've got legs that work. But I thought, let's stick with dragging.
Should have gone with it.
And joining Tom and myself is one of his partners in crime. He is a firefighter, an affiliate owner. So make sure you drop into CrossFit All or Nothing if you happen to be in Barnstable in North Devon. And despite all of this, he somehow found time to qualify for and compete at the CrossFit Games last year too. Please welcome Karl Learnihan. And I should have said, and he also has a slightly dodgy internet connection. So who knows what we might get.
Thanks for having us.
That's right. You're welcome. And hello, Brett. Welcome back. Yeah. Good. So, Wodapalooza, guys. I find it fascinating. First of all, I find it fascinating that you guys are organizing or being so heavily involved in the adaptive division at Wodapalooza, considering you're both based in the UK. So that's one of the things I found the most interesting. First of all, can we start with that? Like, how did you get involved with Wodapalooza?
You want to take it, Carl?
No one wants to answer.
Yeah,
it's a secret. Okay.
Yeah. So as Carl's signal's not great, I'll jump in. I mean, if we rewind back towards the games, we was hearing whispers from other athletes, from a few different people, that Will Wad wouldn't be taking on the commitment this year for the 2025 season. We was hearing rumours that another one or two athletes may have been taking on the responsibility. And then, long story short, we heard direct from them that they wasn't taking on, and we was like, should we put our names in the hat? We've run a fair few comps over the last few years. It'd be great for the exposure for the sport, for the athletes, and we would hate that if Will Wad wasn't going to be doing it, then it'd just go by the wayside and not given the opportunity to the adaptive athletes. So yeah, we took our name in the hat, and yeah, it stuck. So we're now manning the adaptive lanes.
So I kind of want to ask exactly what you're doing there. Before that, though, I would just say, if you hadn't put your name in the hat, and so if it seems like different people were potentially going to do it, and then they weren't going to do it, what do you think the decision would like? Would they have just said, okay, no adaptive division this year at Wodapalooza, or do you think it would have been similar to games of the past where you had people just being like, well, we'll program for the adaptives, even though that's not really our remit or what we're used to doing? What do you think might have happened?
Carl, no.
Yeah, so like you said, we put our name in. We were interested. We just said we noticed that there's no adaptive divisions this year. Is there anything we can help with? We've done X, Y, Z so far, and then yeah, we just spoke to them, had a bit of a FaceTime, and explained exactly what we do, how we do it, and the competitions we currently do run, and how we would help deliver if they wanted to utilize the skills we've gained over the last few years, whether that's competing or organizing in adaptive divisions. Our main goal was just to help provide another platform this year for adaptive athletes to compete. So if we can obviously help provide that and help the show still go on, and then yeah, that's what we did. And then as we're almost full now on the divisions. There's still a few spaces left to compete at Wodapalooza. So yeah, so I hope we put on a good show and a good competition for them. We've tried to replicate workouts as close as we can to the elite workouts, obviously just adapted to them across each division. So share the same hardship, no matter your impairment, age, ability. Everyone's in the same boat and pushing hard.
So can we ask? Obviously, the Wodaptive team, not Wodaptive. What I'm talking, the Wodapalooza. I knew that was going to happen. The Wodapalooza team were happy with what you told them. Like, obviously, the experience that you had. For anybody who's listening to this that is maybe making the trip there and they don't know your background and the experience you have, the competitions you were already involved in, can we get like a little mini rundown of sort of your CV with regards to adaptive CrossFit competitions?
Yep. So originally we're both obviously CrossFit level 1s, and then my first PT client, after I did put physical training instructor in the military before I got medically discharged. That was my background in regards to physical training, where I pre-trained anyone volunteering to do the commando course. So I'll get them fit enough and strong enough and able to take on that challenge. Then when I got out, my first PT was an adaptive athlete. So Ross Austin, who's part of our team as well, he'll be coming out to Wodapalooza as well. He's one of the team of 4 coming out. Basically, I had to learn everything off him, as in like watching him move, how I can break down his impairment, how I can make things work, each movement, because he had no idea about CrossFit. He came from a weightlifting background. And as I developed as a personal trainer and an adaptive coach, it was just learning as we go, test and adjust. Don't be afraid to take on an adaptive client and to try it out. You've got to find obviously the breaking points of each athlete. So that's all we did, and then we saw there was a gap in the market within UK for adaptive CrossFit and adaptive training. So we just started getting involved as much as we can, obviously networking, seeing what was already out there. We didn't find much. So we decided to start implementing our own competition. There was other small competitions out there as well, but we said, right, we'll design one as well, which is very inclusive as much as possible with all the required subdivisions to get everyone who's got an impairment a chance on that floor to compete. So that's all we did. And at the start, but right back at the start, I was a contact me and Tom both had, a mutual friend put me in contact with Tom, and then we just got together and just started growing Adapt from there, getting the competition bigger each year, providing obviously more challenges for those athletes. And then we just had a friendship and partnership grow from there.
Excellent. Do you agree with that, Tom? The friendship is still growing, right?
No comment.
No comment. So you get some other just address a few comments just so people know that we are paying attention. We'll start with Sam. Oh no, not these two. Well, there's 3 of us here, so I'm not sure which 2 he's talking about. I'm going to assume it's you 2. And Jake has asked an interesting question. We'll just sidebar for a second. I've just started coaching a para bench athlete for Commonwealths. Any particular programs you'd recommend?
So Tom does Crazy Strength. So he runs that, where he specializes adaptive athletes as well. So especially with any Olympic lifting or powerlifting.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, anybody coaching a para athlete for such a high event like the Commonwealth Games should go back to basics initially, and I mean sort out the foundations of the lifter. Figure out ways in which you can first of all fix the athlete to the chair, to the bench, and make them more stable, and then build from there. And then there's a whole wider range of sort of methodologies you can chuck in the mix. Eccentric, loading. You can do isometric holds, all a variety of different strength programs that you can chuck in the mix to increase your numbers and your percentages.
Excellent. Okay, so Jake, basically the key there is follow Tom and shoot him a message if you've got those questions. Excellent. So what exactly are you? Oh, look at that. There you go. He's already happy. So what exactly are you guys going to be doing at Wodapalooza? What should we be expecting to see for the adaptive division this year? You don't need to tell me all the workouts or all the secrets if you don't want to, but at least an overview of what we're going to see.
Yeah, I'd say the NDA covers that, so I won't say anything. But yeah, so so there will be 6 workouts. Obviously, there are different very different levels, but all good in their own right to test the athlete as a holistic approach, not obviously specializing in strength, just like CrossFit, decent across the board, constantly varied. Yes, we've got that for the athletes. Obviously, we'll be there to obviously help facilitate them, help guide them. Any questions that will be contactable day and night for the athletes, give them the best experience we can from the registration as they arrive, the athlete journey from the warm up area all the way to the competition floor. On the competition floor, any last minute dynamic changes that an athlete may have, their impairment can change, how their body's effective with the pressure on the floor, etc. We're there to help guide them and make sure they get the fairest chance of competing against everyone else.
Nice. Corey's late. Well, you have to roll back 10 minutes, Corey. So, Tom, you mentioned something to me about, did I write it down? I'm sure I did. And about a sort of an experience that's going to be there for the able-bodied athletes to kind of get a taste of adaptive CrossFit. And I didn't write down what you'd called it, but I remember what it is. So can we talk about that?
The adaptive appreciation workout.
That is it. And I've got it written here, adaptive appreciation. There we are. Yeah.
So it's something we've done before at both my gym and Carl's gym for a variety of different fundraisers to get athletes to the games last year, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, 1 second, because I see Roderick has just jumped in, mean for time. I'm sure he is going to be there. I don't know if he knows about this element, but I think he's very passionate for the adaptive divisions within CrossFit as well. So I'm sure he would love to so Roger, you've got to head over to the adaptive appreciation. What's it going to be? Adaptive appreciation workouts or experience?
Yes. Yeah, there's going to be it's going to be four short AMRAPs. But in each AMRAP, you're going to be placed with a temporary impairment. So whether it's lower, upper, seated, or vision, and you're going to complete that workout as if you have that impairment. So we're talking, if you've got a blindfold on, you're doing blind calories. I mean, literally blind. Like, you were not allowed to know the calories until they say you're done as well. So you're gonna have to go at that pace until you go. You have to be guided over to the bar and able to jump up to do the pull-ups. So you're going to have that anxiety and aspect of jumping up to the pull-up bar. So we're just trying to give everyone that experience to know what it's like for some of the impairments on the floor, how nerve-wracking it can be, and how those extra challenges are placed on the adaptive athlete on the competition floor.
Which do you think is going to be the hardest for people?
It depends. So look, we make lower quite hard. So we did originally do it, so you have to raise one leg off the floor, and potentially obviously only had one able-bodied limb, but then some people were switching legs mid-workout, so now you have to take your shoe off, so there's no cheating. So yeah, so if there's like burpee box jump overs and thrusters, and you're all on the same leg, you're going to feel that burn pretty quickly, the lactic acid buildup.
Yeah. So here we've got people saying, so Brett's saying it depends on the impairment and movement. And then Roderick is saying that they've all got different challenges. And I agree. But when you said about the blindfold, I immediately thought like, I kind of feel like if you can see everything, you can sort of assess how to manage something, right? So you're like, okay, I've only got one leg. I've got to stand on one leg, but I'm aware of what's around me. I can work this out. I think if you take away my eyes, I'm just very worried now that I'm like going to just walk into something or someone.
The visually impaired is definitely the most disorientating. There's no denying that.
And I'm not saying as well, let me quickly throw out this disclaimer. I'm not saying for life, like that is the worst, one to have over someone who's in a chair or this or that. I'm saying if you're giving me 10 minutes in a situation and I'm in a crowded arena with people around me, I'm quite worried when I'm blindfolded. That's all I'm saying. So before anybody comes at me for, saying one
Yeah, so
person's issue is not as bad as another. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
yeah, many different impairments. They've all got their own like challenges, like they said. But it's just giving you that experience for a few of the impairments. But with these workouts, you're going to be with a partner. So when you are vision, you're going to change each round, and then you're going to have to guide that athlete to the different bits of equipment as well. So it gives you the challenge of a vision impaired athlete, and also as a coach or a guide as well. So you can see the challenges both sides.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's interesting to me, because I think that's something that people don't. I would, I would say if you sort of just took a random kind of test of 100 people within the world of CrossFit, and you started asking them about different elements of adaptive CrossFit, I think the idea of the guide or the person that's holding the chair for someone is the bit people don't think about, because they probably think oh yeah, okay, they're in a chair, so yeah, they can't do this movement, or they can't do that, or they're going to have to adapt it this way or that way. But I think the having that kind of person there that you can rely on to assist you through the workout, especially for like vision, as you said, if they're having to literally lead them across the floor, is probably something people don't think about when they think about adaptive CrossFit as much, at least putting myself as I'm saying that, I don't think about it that much. So I think that's cool that they have to also do that role as well. Yeah, okay. But I guess that's probably why you did it. Maybe you guys know what you're doing. Interesting. That's what I'm learning. Yeah, okay. Roderick is heading off, but he's please asking that you can send him the details so that he can be a part of that. So Tom, get ready to become a meme.
Yeah, that's Sunday, 8 a.m. on the Gauntlet stage is where it's going to take place. We'll confirm how you can register for that, and we'll put it out in the next couple of days, because there's only going to be a certain amount of spots. I think it's up to 48 athletes. So yeah, we'll get that out as soon as we can.
Excellent. Okay, so everybody's now making a little note, rushing down to that. So I mean, I think that's cool, especially given the kind of atmosphere of Wodapalooza in general, that it is this sort of like festival to fitness. Like that's it's not just, people don't just go there to watch other people compete, right? They want to be involved, they want to do stuff. So I think that's a really kind of cool element to bring in, and also just to get more people familiar with adaptive CrossFit and how it is adapting and not scaling. I think that's the other kind of hot button people press, isn't it? It's like, it's still really, really hard. Just because it's adapted, it doesn't mean that the workouts are easier for the athletes. So I can't wait to see people. I wonder, I'll just be following you, Tom, on Instagram, so just make sure you post some videos of that, because I look forward to seeing these fellas take it on. With regards to how many divisions are you running? Different adaptive divisions are you running at Wodapalooza? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, so for each workout, I've had to do 15 different scorecards, all different variations. So we've got lower.
We've got lower, and then Carl froze. Tom, do you know the other 14?
Yeah. So I'll jump in. Lower, upper, standard diagnosed, seated, and then you've got the subcategories within there as well, and short stature, which comes under the open standing category. Yeah.
Okay. So I think Tom filled us in there, Carl. When you froze, you listed one and then you disappeared, and we're like, oh no. Yeah. Maybe he didn't really know. Maybe he hasn't finished preparing all those scorecards. And you said like registration is almost full, did you say?
Yeah, I think we've got about 5 spots left. Obviously, if there isn't gaps in some of the divisions, there is opportunity to go into some of the divisions that are already full and just have more competitors. So that's still able to happen over the next few days before we obviously seal it shut.
Where are the majority of the athletes coming from? Do you know that? Like with regards to like registration, how kind of much information have you seen on that? I was just curious if it is, a lot of US athletes, or if there is going to be, people traveling the same way we see, like Wodapalooza being this kind of destination dream event for people in other parts of the world. There is
there is quite literally athletes from all over the world. They're not sort of biased to the US athletes at all. That they are literally from all over the world. And I think what's really cool about this year and the whole event is the involvement that we've had from Invictus. So both myself and Karl, since the games, have been in talks with Invictus and how we can, or how they can support athletes competing. And I think off the top of my head, is it 7 athletes this year they've funded their registration and travel costs to compete at Wodapalooza, which is mega.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Miami is expensive, so that's big of them. So was it just because of the games then that you got involved with Invictus? So how's that relationship developed, I guess?
Yeah, that joined from starting the games journey. Obviously, just brought the different organisations together. But yeah, now they obviously fund those athletes. It's not just it's all veterans, wounded, injured, or sick. Anyone who's been medically discharged from the military, and you're part of the We Are Invictus app, so you can join that app, and then you get verified if you can prove you were medically discharged. So it's not just UK; it's all around the world. So they can have people from the other side of the pond fly over to competitions this side and vice versa. And they'll fund 3 external competitions a year for you. That's return flights and entry fee. So it's just your accommodation you've got to sort out yourself. So it just opens up the opportunity for those veterans to compete as well, wounded, injured, or sick.
Well, how long have they been doing that? Is that like a relatively... I don't think I've ever heard this. So that's why I'm curious.
Yes, since the games for CrossFit athletes.
Oh wow, okay, that's yeah. Maybe other people knew that already. I don't know. I don't think I'd ever heard that. So I think that's pretty. I mean, knowing a lot of athletes and knowing a lot of fundraisers and things that go on to try and get any athlete out anywhere within kind of we know it's only really the the top individual athletes that may be earning enough to kind of not worry too much about their travel costs, but for the majority of people, getting to events is it's a big financial headache. So I mean, the fact that they're covering multiple events for all these different people, I think is pretty incredible. So well done, Invictus. Yeah, I'm surprised that, I was just surprised I haven't heard that or more, but maybe I'm just living under a rock somewhere. I don't know.
It is new. It's only sort of been concreted since Wodapalooza, really. So from the games, it was all in talks. Me, Karl, and Hannah and Michaela, all from Invictus. I've had numerous meetings on how we can make this work. I suppose you could say Wodapalooza, this event now has been more of a trial on how the administrative side of things. It's worked relatively well. So yeah, there's a couple of things we might change going forward, but yeah, from now it is more official, definitely.
So, seeing as you guys are obviously heavily involved in the adaptive landscape of CrossFit, how do you see it going, just in general? I just thought I would kind of sound you out on, because it had, it's had sort of peaks and troughs throughout the years. In general, and then obviously the change from having CrossFit at the games to it being run by WheelWod and kind of you having this separate, which wasn't just for the adaptive, because it was the same for the teens and the masters as well, that they were sort of pushed off to the side. And obviously I guess for some they weren't very happy about that because it's not the same. But then for others, I think particularly within the adaptive landscape, no one ever really seemed that happy with how it was working at the games. I mean, I might be wrong. Tom, you went to the games twice. So am I wrong on that? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
the fact that you have to take a big sigh before you speak.
Yeah,
worries.
Big deep breath, compose your thoughts. I think last year was a huge, monumental step forward, in particularly for the adaptive scene. Will Wad have done an incredible job up to now, but there's only so much they can do without the exposure that CrossFit can give. So I think that sort of partnership will only be good for adaptive sport. Where it goes from here will depend on a lot of different things, but ultimately it's going to depend on athlete participation. The adaptive community. I want to be very careful with what I say because I don't want to mess it. I don't want to screw anybody over, but it can be very humbling, very welcoming, very friendly community, but can also be a little what's the word I'm looking for? It can be a little bit
sensitive, complex.
Yeah, sensitive. Let's say sensitive. A little bit ungrateful at times. But when in reality they don't really know everything that's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Oh, I feel really bad now that I asked you this question, Tom.
I just wanted to put that one because I didn't want to, annoy anyone. That's not my intent at all. But yeah.
I mean, it is because I kind of got more involved with the adaptive community maybe I want to say like 3-4 years ago, and it was because people were sending me stuff, like within the sort of reporting side that I do on CrossFit and what's happening and things like that. It was athletes sending me something like, oh, this has happened, and this is going on and people aren't happy about it, kind of thing. And then I start digging and finding out, well, it depends who you speak to, because it seems like this person's really unhappy about this, but these people are quite happy. So I don't know. And obviously, I think as well for everyone else, like it's just sport, or it's just fitness. It's like, oh, we weren't really happy that they made this change at the games. You're like, oh, well, yeah, that's annoying, but it's just sport, it's just fitness. But when you're an adaptive athlete, it's also a huge part of your life off the competition floor, right? So if you feel like, someone is undermining your, impairment, like it feels almost like it's not just an attack on you sport wise, it's like an attack on you personally, right? So you can kind of see why people do get more emotional and more it is a sensitive topic, because it's so much more than just a game or some sport or something you do for exercise. But that at the same time, like you're absolutely right, like you're never going to nail it first time. And I mean, you've even spoken about at this event the fact that you're going to be also having to be there to make changes, maybe like on the fly, when people realize that perhaps the pressure of the competition or the stress or the travel or whatever it is has actually meant the impairment is maybe worse than they initially thought, and perhaps certain movements aren't going to be possible for them, or certain standards or whatever. So like there's just this it's not just a kind of, oh, you're in a chair, this is the movement for you, right? It's like, why are you in a chair? That already changes massively the scope person to person, right? At least that's what I've experienced in my little bit of time, sort of trying to get to know a bit better the adaptive community. Anyway, Brett says passionate. Yes.
So for everyone who gets an impairment or disability later on in life, being good at a sport it's a second chance of life as well. Obviously showing that, even though your cards have been down, you still got a secret hand, and you can push forward, and you can be passionate, and you can drive, and you can obviously succeed in something else still. And it's amazing to watch. That's why everyone in the adaptive community has a good backstory. I mean, everyone's been through hardship, and they're trying to come out the other side. When that passion goes into wanting to push the sport as well, sometimes people can be like channeled into just their impairment, when we've all got our own impairments, but we have to look at the holistic approach of how we can make it better for the entire sport within the competitions we run, rather than favoritism to like the different impairments, because sometimes some impairments are a lot more visual and people can see them and understand them. other impairments, obviously they're within inside the body, so they can't see them. That's what we're trying to explain and understand more, how it affects the body, lack of power output, lack of energy, lack on the senses, and how the actual body functions internally. So we've got to try and expose all them on the floor, expose everyone's story, and just make it as fair as possible. We'd like to say we never get it right first time. Every competition, there's always learning points, but the more we do it, the more other people put on competitions, other coaches want to adapt their workouts and coach impaired athletes and adaptive athletes, the better it's going to be. I say there's no rule book that's this is exactly how it goes. There's some basics out there, but then you have to learn it yourself off each individual athlete. You can't think, like I say, one thing fixes all. They're just going to have to dive in and test themselves as a coach and test them as an athlete.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, which is great, like, you know, in your local affiliate, right, that you can do trial and error and people are quite happy with that. And as soon as you put that on a big stage with a spotlight, then people are like, you know, how dare it not be perfect straight away? But you're absolutely right. Like with everything, you know, you try your best and then you see. Sorry, I'm distracted a little bit. Questions. So Brett had said passionate. That was good. Sam is saying he really likes the honesty Tom and Karl are bringing to this podcast. Again, Sam, I'm trying to be honest as well. Thank you, guys. Brett has asked a very good question, though. With you guys taking over this year for Wodapalooza, what is your biggest goal to achieve? Getting invited back next year.
Invited back. Yeah, just a fair exposure for all the athletes. We don't want to obviously have an athlete feel like they've gone under the radar, even though we've only got a limited spaces. We've got 40 spaces for adaptive athletes and a certain amount of divisions. Yes, each division is really complex and there's all those subdivisions. They are in there, but majority of the names we knew straight away off the list. We knew what their division was because a lot of them have competed at the games. It's just making sure they all get that fair chance. But so if they're all lower, like I say, they've got minor 1 point and 2 point contact, so above knee, below knee. As long as they've got all their variations of the workouts, they're going to be competing against each other. There's not like, we'll say, one size fits all for all of them. As long as we're getting that correct exposure for those subdivisions, that's what I feel will be the biggest goal.
Yeah. Do you know, is there going to be, I mean, I don't know how involved you are in all of the conversations with organizing stuff for that, but like with regards to things like live stream, stuff like that, will we be able to watch the adaptive athletes when they're on the field? Do you know if that's a possibility, or is that you know, a conversation that's being had by, I don't know, people further up the ladder?
Yeah, it's still being had to confirm. I mean, previous years I've been to Wodapalooza, I've been there. There has been a live stream for the adaptive athletes on the floor when I was coaching Rossi's first comp. It was there. I was just going to confirm at what level it's still going to be, and if it's going to be all the workouts.
Yeah, excellent. Because I think that is, you know, a great thing about it being that obviously you've got a lot of eyes on you just being in Miami and just how many people like are there anyway. But I do think it's great, isn't it? Like if your goal is that exposure, just the fact that it's kind of like, oh, I can also just tune in and watch it. Maybe people have heard this and they're thinking, oh, I'd love to see what those guys did. Surely me and Jason in the commentary. Yeah, Sam and I we can steal the live stream and we'll do some commentary for you guys and just send us through all the different, you know, adjustments that have been made for the various points of contact and things like that, and then we'll be good to go. I kind of wanted to ask, seeing as I've got, you know, two experts on the show at the moment, as we were saying about like just the landscape of adaptive CrossFit, because Tom, you said an interesting thing about like the athletes showing up basically. So it's like you can have these, you know, you guys can put on more events, or you can get more events to kind of make it, I don't know, I was gonna say make space for, but you know what I mean? Like, okay, we're also going to open up a couple of lanes for some adaptive, you know, people to throw down at these events as well. But then you also need athletes to, you know, when they hear there is an adaptive competition going on, sign up, get involved. Because like, how big an ask is that, I guess, is the question. Like,
well, I mean, you know, you look at Wodapalooza now in Miami for, you know, the majority of all the athletes. That's a hell of a chunk just to get out to Miami. So it is a big commitment for all athletes involved. So but equally, we need athletes to take part in order for the sports to grow.
I was like shocked by just how expensive all of your equipment is as well. That like, just if you do want to get involved as an adaptive athlete, and you like have to buy some of the ropes for the for like I don't know what they called, the ropes that you do for like if you're in a chair, like the kind of heavy ropes for the
multi ropes.
Yeah, or the like single arm, the mono rope and stuff like that. I mean, I looked at the price of some of that equipment. I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then I was told, yeah, everything for adaptive athletes is just super expensive. Do you feel like that at all is kind of, I don't want to say barrier to entry, but do you think that does make it hard for competitions to be like, oh yeah, we could throw on some adaptive workouts, and then they start thinking, oh, hold on, we've got to get additional equipment in, or we've got to do this or that, or is it just me with my budget thinking, wow, I don't think I could afford to buy this equipment?
I mean, if you don't mind, I'll jump in here, mainly because I've had some pretty serious conversations with Mark and Dana from Echo Products, who produce the adaptive kit out in the UK, out in the US. And I'm actually, along with a friend of mine, a UK distributor of their kit. Mark and Dana have supported Wheelbud for the last 10 years, and every event they've run, they've supplied the kit, even made bespoke kit just for those events. So yes, the kit is expensive, but it's bespoke kit. It's for a niche market. Like it can't go into mass production. There's not the call for it. So that's how you run the cost of a product down. You make more of it to run the cost down. You can't do that with the adaptive equipment, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, but I guess it's sort of, and this sounds mean, but I guess it's also the thing that if you need that adaptive equipment for CrossFit or events like this, you kind of already in life you're having to buy this equipment for other things, and as you said, the reasonings of, well, there's less people that need this stuff, so it's not mass produced, it's custom made to fit me, and so I guess you're kind of already aware going in that equipment carries a certain cost. So it's probably only people like myself that haven't had to worry about that in life, that I can be like, well, I mean, I look at a pair of trainers and I'm like, they're expensive. And that's and other people are buying 50 of them, so I guess it's just my brain. But yeah, I suppose that's probably, I guess it's annoying, but if it is what it is, and it is what it is across the board in everything, I suppose that's not kind of stopping you then taking up CrossFit, I guess, is what I've sounded out from that.
Just for a bit of context, really, I mean, what are the multi-ropes now? About £100, something like that, depending on where you buy them from. A chair that you're training and that you're competing, we're talking £8,000, £9,000. So that's where the real cost is, the actual hardware that you're using.
Did you just get a new chair? Did I see that on your Instagram or fairly recently?
Yeah, not too long ago. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why the price is so fixed in your mind so soon. Like,
yeah, definitely. 6 to 8 months ago, I think I got that one.
Nice. I mean, while we've got you here and we've got a little bit of time, Tom, how long have you been? I have a feeling it's not that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that long that since you had your accident and that you ended up in the chair. Am I right? Am I remembering that correctly?
No, you're absolutely right. So if we backtrack a little, so I would say around the time Rossi and Karl started working together and Rossi started competing, I think it was around that time when I had my accident. So in between lockdown 1 and 2, 2020. So we're four and a bit years in. Yeah.
Wow. Can we ask what happened?
No, absolutely, yeah. So I was doing a 100-mile bike ride, raising money and awareness for Combat Stress UK. I got about 40 mile into the ride, and a 7.5-ton lorry hit me from behind.
Wow.
You should have saw the lorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who I feel sorry for. That poor lorry. Wow. I mean, that's, yeah, I was going to say that has to hurt, but obviously. How long was like initial recovery for you?
So I was in hospital for 3 months. I think the biggest thing for me whilst I was in hospital is, bear in mind, we was in the height of COVID at this time.
Yeah.
So we was getting 1 hour of one visitor per week. All the gyms shut down. I was having 1 hour of physio a week. And yeah, I was driving myself crazy in hospital. I was like, oh, I need to get out of this place. Yeah. Nothing against the hospital I was in, all the staff that were there, you know, the jobs that they do, particularly units like that, they do absolutely incredible things, you know, as does the rest of the NHS. But it just didn't sit well with me, just not having a purpose to get out of bed every morning, you know.
Yeah, I hadn't. I mean, well, you know, I guess I've tried to blank out as much of COVID as I can and lockdowns, but you know, when we think about like the hospitals, and particularly it was things of like, you know, thinking about people that, you know, were losing loved ones, and like, oh, you know, we were struggling to get to go and say goodbye to them, kind of thing, which is terrible, tragic, horrible, you know, situation. But I think, you know, I don't think I was thinking about the people that were like going through life-changing. I mean, you think life-changing as in like we had a baby and our life changed, and you know, it was a bit of a weird situation, but then we got to go home and we had the baby with us, because we had a baby throughout all of lockdown. That's probably why I'm thinking about that. But like for you, yeah, like, you know, that's a period of time where usually you would expect, you know, friends and family to be around you, you'd be speaking to them all the time, they'd be there kind of, you know, in those moments where you're feeling, you know, a bit down and hard on yourself. They're there to try and, you know, provide a modicum of comfort and optimism, and you just don't have that. Okay, what's the alternative? You go to the gym and you work through your pain, right? Oh no, you don't have that, because that's so, yeah, that's interesting. It's just reframed COVID for me. So well done.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I mean, for me, I think the nurses managed to get me like a couple of pairs of dumbbells that I had on my bed space, and I used to just throw them around. And yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it is what it is.
Here's another question for you then. Were your arms always that big, or is it because now you rely on them much more?
Yeah, my arms and my legs now, right? I've always had a fairly decent shape to me. But yeah, this is just a tight t-shirt. I put it in the tumbler dryer just before we started this brief.
Oh, I should have done that then.
He's so modest. He's so modest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped his strength, has it?
No.
Yeah, at the games, I remember watching Tom. I was directly in front of him when he was doing it, but he cleaned 88 kilograms on the barbell from the seat. So from the lap, just bringing it up. It's basically a strict muscle clean. So yeah, that was really impressive.
Yeah, you poor thing, you.
Yeah, 88 kilos was a no rep, mate.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
It's still not up to standards, but we know we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why was it a no rep? What did you do wrong?
So the barbell must move up continually in one motion. I think as I got it to where it may have come down a very slight bit and then come back up. Yeah, I mean, the judge was fair. Absolutely.
Yeah, the standards are the standard, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I would, yeah, we got to hold you. You can't just look at him and go, come on, I'm in a chair. Look at me. How could you be so mean? Oh, you're a bully. Yeah. No. We don't expect any of that from you. No sympathy. How long before you were like, oh, I'm going to go into, I mean, were you already doing CrossFit before then? Or
yeah, so before my accident, I think I'd been doing CrossFit for about 3 years.
Right.
You know, something like that. Did a couple of the opens. Yeah, I've always trained. I've always done something. But when I found CrossFit, I was like, I went from doing one class a week or something, and then watching the oh god, what were the shows called now? Like the Redeemed and the Dominant, or a couple of earlier ones than that. I remember watching that,
like the road to the game stuff and things like that as well. And
yeah, I remember watching that.
Every second counts. So.
Yeah, that's it. Every rep counts or something like that. I remember watching it, and I went from going, I like CrossFit. I do it every now and again, to I want to be the fittest person I know. Just had a switch change. But I'll digress a little. So from my accident, obviously early on, I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to be capable. I didn't know what movements would look like, what I would be able to do. But as I served in the military, I got the access to the Defence Military Rehabilitation Centre up in Loughborough, a state-of-the-art, world-renowned facility. I remember going up there and meeting one of the exercise rehabilitation instructors, Dino, his name was, and he'd done a bit of research before I got there, knowing that I was keen on doing CrossFit and getting back into it. And Kai Vickers was there at the time as well, another seated athlete, got injured just before me. And we basically tried it together, like getting under the barbell. And I remember the first, I think off the top of my head, there was no even real weight on the bar. It was just the technical plates, so they're like the full size, but only weigh like 2.5 kilos. And I remember doing a clean and having that barbell hit against your clavicles, and you're like, that's what I've missed. That felt good. And it was from that moment on, again, I was just hooked again.
Yeah, you're like, that felt good, but 88 kilos would feel even better. That's what you told yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, 90 kilos feels even better than that, surely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've got time when you're in Wodapalooza, just load up the bar and just give it a go. Just show the other athletes what they need to do. Yeah, I mean, have you got I guess you've got to also think about, do you have to like demo the movement? Like, have you got to have people out there kind of demoing the stuff with for every division, for every work? Like, I think it's probably quite a logistical headache when I think about how much work goes into like just the comps I go to and seeing them sort of stress because we've got an RX and an elite and a scaled division, and we've got to change the movement here and there, and then we've got the age groups, and we've made a change for this age group kind of thing. I can't, you're talking about like 15 different variations on the workout and the scorecard. Does all of that have to, like, how close to this, like the traditional kind of CrossFit event sort of format am I imagining that you're having to do? Are you having to sort of have prepared demo videos or have every movement demoed for the athletes, or
So what we usually do, and what we're going to be doing at Wodapalooza, is an athlete's briefing, and we'll split the categories off, and we'll take each workout step by step, demo the movement standards required, and we'll also have the judges that are going to be running those adaptive lanes present as well, so they've got a full understanding on what they're looking for from their athletes.
Nice. Okay. And I assume it's, I would assume to a degree that the athletes are a bit more familiar with movement standards that are common to them, because unlike other events where they might be like, we put a little twist on the standard we've got for this movement, and usually you do it like this, but we've decided we're gonna, these are the kind of the rules where you, like, if it's an adapted movement, it's probably very specific because of the nature of the adaptation, right? So it's like, theoretically, guys, you know what you need to do, and we're just kind of refreshing your memory, I suppose, more than like learning something new, if that makes sense. I hope.
The majority of the athletes would have done it before, but there are always new athletes who have this is the first time taking themselves onto the competition floor. So obviously we've always got to maintain the good standards with the demonstrations required. But with our team, we're splitting the divisions in half, and then we're going to do 2 separate briefs, and then we're going to go through what the workout is for that division, movement standards, the flow, and then have to repeat it for each workout. Some of them will be similar for all divisions, but then some of them will be massively complex, and it's going to be slightly different start positions, different movements completely. But That's why we usually get a longer slot. We've got like an hour and a half to get the briefs done on the first day. But yeah, like I say, the judges will be there as well, because they're going to have set judges, because you want a consistency with the judging. They may not be specialists with adaptive athletes, but they're going to stay with them throughout the whole journey of the Wodapalooza. So it's going to be the same group of judges, and then try and work with the same athlete each time. So they've got that consistency. They understand their impairment or their range of motion, or the lack of, and for example, and they'll do the best they can to help those.
Nice. So what, like, taking it away from adaptive individuals for a moment, because they are a minority within the CrossFit space compared to everybody else. I think masters are probably still the majority. What can like everybody else do to help the adaptive division? Like, how can we assist so we do see more events, we do see more stuff happening within the I think it's growing. I'm hearing about more adaptive events than I used to. I hear more people speaking about adaptive events and adaptive athletes, and there will be some bias there because now I know more people within that world, so I probably just hear a bit more anyway. But in general, like, we talk about the community and we talked about the adaptive community, but when we look at the kind of larger, CrossFit community, I mean, Karl, you're an affiliate owner, so like, we talk about the big community, everybody trying to help each other out. Like, what could people be doing, or what should people be doing if they're like, I want to help support this area of CrossFit?
Just educate yourself. So maybe go along to a competition. If you are an affiliate owner or a coach and you want to advance yourself, then you can obviously learn from that. If you're an athlete, then just obviously view it and expose it, appreciate those. What we find at competitions and at Wodapalooza as well is that when the adaptive athletes do go on the stage, the crowds won't be as big. They'll be looking at other stages, or checking out the stalls, or anyone who's there for the party, the festival. But if they just spend that time, watch those athletes on the floor, just so they can see it in real life, see how impressive it is, because a lot of them haven't seen it or won't plan to view it there. Yeah, just get themselves along and just watch one of the workouts and just be surprised. It's like what actually an impaired athlete can do.
Yeah. So it's not a huge thing, right? I mean, if you're there already, it's just like, maybe swing by and open your eyes. Yeah. That would be nice. And I guess there's a nice knock-on effect, right? Because then if I'm there competing, I go back home, I'm part of a community back there. I'm telling them, hey, I went to Wodapalooza. It was amazing. Like, we were throwing down. We had a crowd there. They were cheering. Like, that's one of the best events I've been to. You should go. You should try it next year. And I guess it just has that knock-on effect, right? Anything to add, Tom? How can I help?
I mean, no. I mean, the thing with the adaptive community, you're only really interested in the adaptive community if you're immersed in that world. So whether it be, a loved one, a friend, whether you've had an accident or something like that, and I get that. But one thing I can say is I've never met somebody that isn't immersed in that world watch an event or an athlete and not being like super impressed and gone, that is absolutely incredible. So I'll make a promise now. Anybody who decides to come along and watch some of the athletes throw down, you will 100% be shocked and impressed, and you will have a good time.
And if they don't, it's your money back. Tom will refund your ticket to Wodapalooza. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I mean, for me, like within the world of fitness and CrossFit and that, it's always been like health first. I don't compete famously. I don't compete. I'm all about just like, I do CrossFit to stay fit, to stay healthy, to be able to run around with my kids, all of that. One of the things I really love about, knowing so many in the adaptive community within CrossFit is it's almost like a reassurance for me. I always think like, you never know what life's going to throw at you. I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife, myself. I've got other family members I care about. I love the fact that if something happened to one of them, like I would know that, oh, there's this amazing adaptive community within CrossFit, and whatever that impairment would be, it's like there, and that really reassures me, because sometimes you know, like you have like a near miss, right? In the car or something, and then you get those like, oh, could you imagine what? And I don't know about you, my mind goes to some dark places at those kind of times. So Augustus is here now. Augustus, I'm so glad you're here. We're literally wrapping it up, but don't worry. Yeah, so I just think it's, you know, it's such a, even if you're not personally in there, you know, now I've got friends and people I do know within the community, so that's great. But I just think it's, you know, it's a good thing to be aware of, and to know that it's there. And I went to an event and I shared some stuff from there, and then someone at my affiliate messaged me saying, oh, I've got a friend who is interested in getting into CrossFit. Could you, you know, tell? And that's why I looked up the price of like the ropes and things like that, because he was asking me about equipment and things like that. So I was sort of being a middleman just to try and help this person. So anyway, that's yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying I just think it's very good for people to know about the adaptive division. I think it's very good what you're doing. Well done that you're, you know, heading out to Miami. I'm sure you're going to have fun as well, but first and foremost, it sounds like a lot of work. So well done. Is there anywhere? So I saw Sam was asking about SoCal, if you plan to be there, but I don't know if you're already in talks with that far ahead, or if it's like, let's see how Miami goes first of all.
It has been pre-spoken mentioned, but yeah, we're going to see what happens after Miami with commitment for the rest of the year with other competitions and stuff. But yeah,
well, that was going to be my follow-up. Was obviously we've said Miami is quite a long way away for many of us. What other events will you kind of have your, you know, your stamp on within the rest of the year? You know, it's the start of the year, isn't it? So we've got a whole year ahead of us. So should there be other dates that people are kind of looking out for within the adaptive competition scene?
Yeah, so the ones we're involved with. The ones we're involved with, obviously Wodapalooza. Then after that is March Mayhem for Battle for Middle Ground. We always do the adaptive lanes there. Then we've got our own competition, Adapt All or Nothing, which is in May, in Southern Quarter. And then for ourselves to compete, we'll be obviously going through the Open, the semis process. And then Marbella Championships again this year. We'll be running the adaptive lanes there.
So, you know, that's a good spattering of events for people. I'm pretty sure they can make their way to at least one of them, right? So, well, thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, Karl, for coming on the show, and then also for, you know, all that you're doing in Miami. Thank you, everybody that was in the comments as well, because that was some nice questions there, and nice to see some support. All the best then. I guess, when are you leaving for Miami?
The 21st we fly.
21st, yeah. Oh, you're kind of quite close to the thought you'd be out there a couple of weeks early, just, you know, getting soaking up some good weather and just sort of enjoying the experience. But no, well done. But actually, Karl, I know you're an insanely busy person, so that actually makes a lot of sense. Tom, you're very busy as well. Sorry. Wonderful. Well, thank you again for coming on. If anyone is still watching, I see somebody who's still watching, I will be back. It won't be as long a break between this show and the next one as it was last time. I will actually be back on Thursday the 9th at 10 p.m. in the UK. So not a great time, but more reasonable time for people in the US. I will be joined by the lovely Fee Sagafi and her wonderful husband, Alex. So hopefully, if you're around, come and check that out. All the best again to Tom and Karl in Miami. And you know, DM them if you've got questions about adaptive CrossFit. Why not? So thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Jason. Cheers for having us.
And we'll end it there.